You're watching Face to Face. I'm your host, Tim Vince, and I am joined today by a really great guy, Gaz Thompson. And Gaz, we're going to talk about Kingdom Wrestling, the wrestling church, the World Kingdom Wrestling Championship belt, and your Christian testimony.
Of course.
But do you know what? I've just chatted with you for a few minutes, and I just have to light the touch paper. So where did we start? Just tell me, how did you get into this? You can talk about your Christian faith, anything you want to talk about.
Sure. So wrestling for me was always an escape as a kid.
Yeah.
So I would watch the WWF on TV. So guys like The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, those big mega stars. Yeah. Just after the Hulk Hogan era.
That's right.
My grandmother used to let me stay at hers on a Friday night, and she remembered all the guys like Big Daddy, Giant Haystacks.
She remembered them. So I do. I don't know how old I am in comparison to your nan, but yeah, we used to. My granddad, every World of Sport with Dickie Davis, and Giant Haystacks, Big Daddy.
Yep, Kendo Nagasaki.
And was it all fake, or what is it about wrestling? Is it real or fake?
It is.
It's certainly entertaining.
It's storytelling, it's entertainment. I think when we take the concept of it being a sport and it being entertainment, it kind of lands in the middle of the two. So as Kingdom Wrestling, we're a registered charity, and you wouldn't believe the conversations I had to have with the Charity Commission around, is professional wrestling a professional sport?
Yeah.
Well, no, it isn't. Although it's called pro wrestling, it's actually not professional in that sense, because it's not like Greco-Roman wrestling or the wrestling you would see in schools in America that they would have at the Olympics. It is storytelling, it's characters. Everything that we're doing is working together. So even something like a suplex or a throw, the other guy's jumping, we're posting for each other, we're carrying each other down. Learn how to land as flat as possible.
Exactly. You've got to get it right, don't you?
Got to get it right.
Otherwise, people are going to get killed.
Yeah, there's a lot of skill involved in it, but obviously we're telling stories. So as we tour the country doing events at churches, church leaders will often ask me that question. Is it real? Is it violent? No, it's not. And we can be really silly with it. We can have comedy, or we can do something really serious, or we could tell a Bible story.
That's it.
Which is what we love to do.
So, I don't know, Samson and Delilah, David and Goliath. I mean, there's
so
endless,
many.
Isn't it?
Yeah, we even did the resurrection story once, where we had a makeshift coffin at ringside. And the only way to win was to put your opponent in the coffin. And we had it where there was like a 2-on-1, 3-on-1 situation, and the good guy's getting beaten up. And then his friend came out to help him, and stood next to him, kissed him on the cheek, threw him to the bad guys, got paid some money, off he went, put in the coffin, lid got shut. And then the bad guy's won, he thinks he's won, he's cheering. They open the coffin, he wants to rub it in his face. The referee goes, he's not there, he's gone. We had a little trap door, the good guy gone under the ring. When the lights came back on, suddenly the good guy's there, the bad guys are like, and the good guy smacks them about a bit and they run off.
Brilliant.
But then we preached on the back of that to a crowd of people, 200 people. I'd say 90% of them non-Christian. They've come to a wrestling event, but they've come to church to a wrestling event. And we're then like, well, who was this guy? Oh, he's Judas. They understand. Who was this guy? Oh, he's playing the part of Jesus. Right, okay, he's not, but he's playing the part of Jesus. And then who was the bad guy? And they're saying, well, he's the devil. Oh, I'm like, but he's maybe unemployment, maybe he's debt, maybe he's bad childhood experiences, maybe he's poor mental health, maybe he could represent anything in your life that is dragging you down and pulling you away from God. And actually, when Jesus comes, he wants to come back and defeat that so that you can restore your relationship with Jesus. And so we just unpack it completely.
And you've mentioned things there from your own experience as well.
Yeah.
So you've got some authenticity there.
Yeah, I mean, I share my story quite often because it is a story that is one full of overcoming massive obstacles. My dad left when I was 6. My mum was an alcoholic. I was sexually abused as a child. I was homeless and living in a skip at 15. I'd failed marriage, in debt, unemployed, living in a box room before I was then invited to church.
Amazing.
And as I walked in the worship, just found myself in floods of tears. Couldn't understand why.
God's presence.
Yeah, some guy came over to me at the end of the service and he said, I saw you crying. I was like, no, you didn't. No. I was not crying, I'm a hard man. And he said, I can tell you why. You've just felt love for the first time in your life and you didn't know what to do with it.
Wow.
And so that was my journey into figuring out church, figuring out the Bible, figuring out who Jesus was. What does it mean to be a Christian? What even is this discipleship? What is that? And going on that journey. And I'd literally just started training to be a pro wrestler myself at that point. So those two things.
So you've ticked the box, as it were.
Yeah.
As a pro wrestler, and do you get a certificate or something, or training, or how does it work?
Well, so you need to train to do it. Like we mentioned earlier, there is a lot of skill involved, and for some people, they can get into a ring and they can pick it up really easily. There's a lot of things that we can teach you around footwork, running the ropes, doing the moves and the
falling
holds.
flat on your back.
Falling flat on your back.
Being thrown up in the air. I've seen one of your videos where you literally, there's a bloke flying through the air.
Yeah. Yeah.
That can go wrong.
It can go wrong. That's why you need to train to do it.
Yeah.
You can't just step in the ring and think, oh, I'm a wrestler now. Yeah. You need to train. And there's a lot of tricks, you know, even something as simple as throwing a punch. There's ways that we do it. There's very kind of movie stage stunt work, but live. You know, we throw a punch with an open fist rather than a closed fist. Yeah. So it can collapse if it connects. We maybe slap the inside of our arm so you get a noise.
That's right.
We throw it on the side where the audience can't see, so you don't actually hit. Loads of tricks, but it takes precision.
Yeah.
And you need to do it just as good in minute 1 of a match as you do in minute 25 when you're exhausted and fatigued. Yeah. Yeah. So there is a lot of skill. So you go to a training school, you learn how to do it. Some people come on really quickly. It took me about 6 months, and then I was on shows, and I learned so much more actually in the ring in front of a crowd than I did in the training school at that point. There are guys I've got in my training academy in Shipley who have maybe been doing it about 2 years now, and they can probably wrestle, but there is the entertainment aspect. They haven't quite got the character right, they struggle in front of cameras, they maybe don't connect with the audience well, so we're just trying to help them discover what that might be and giving them opportunities to do that as well. So there is all those balancing elements of it.
And basically you've got a church which is called the Wrestling Church.
Yep. And
how do you actually attract people to turn up there? Is it a Sunday church?
No, it's a Saturday evening.
Saturday evening.
Once a month.
Yeah.
And what we do is we just post like we would for a normal wrestling show.
Yeah.
Posters, flyers, local newspapers. We get on local radio. I was on BBC Radio Leeds just yesterday, talking about the history of wrestling in the region, and then saying, hey, we've got an event coming on August 3rd. Come and watch what we do. And then we have like a regular core audience that come back. Social media is really good for this. We get out in local event groups, stuff like that.
I've literally seen you've got the boxing ring, what I call wrestling ring. You've got a baptistry.
Yep, the baptism pole right next to it.
And then you've got a band.
Yeah.
And so you're doing the full 9 yards, as it were, with people who are coming. It's not just buy a ticket to watch a wrestling match.
No,
How does it work?
We're very kind of open about that, and I think on the posters it'll say Wrestling Church. We don't avoid the fact that when you come, there is going to be worship. Yeah. We try and do songs that maybe a little bit more rocky, a little bit more kind of punk rock. Yeah. Like we take Shine Jesus Shine and we played it over the top of Nirvana, and people really, really got that. I'm like, oh wow, okay. Just to engage with worship, because a lot of people who come have never been to church. They don't sing unless it's karaoke at the pub. Yeah. So we have to engage them in that. It's not just a given that they'll join in. No. So we have the worship. We talk them through. So we have Linda Maslin, who's a vicar at Fountains. We've got Natasha, who's a vicar at Shipley. They will go, hey, look, welcome. This is what's going to happen tonight. We just lay it all out. We're going to have some worship. Then we'll have a match. Then we'll have some baptisms, and then we'll have a preach, or we'll kind of
And when do you lock the doors, as it were, and then invite them one by one to go into the ring with you, and then you convert them? With an arm, with double Nelson.
I've got a whole preach on submitting to God that we could do in the ring with some people, No, we don't do it that way. It is very, it's drip feeding. Yeah. We're trying to touch on different topics and subjects that are relevant to the people that come. It's a very working class crowd, a lot of families. We have quite a diverse group, and we have to kind of bear in mind that they're non-churched. So what would be a given for us if we were to talk about discipleship or evangelism or God's
Wouldn't
justice?
Make sense.
Make no sense. No. We can't dig into the Greek derivative of words because it goes over their heads. So we need to talk in a very basic language, and that's why the wrestling's really helpful. Because we can tell the story of David and Goliath physically. They can witness it and watch it. And actually, even for Christians who've been Christians a long time, to see a guy who's 6'3" in the ring with a guy who's 5'8", like there is something quite primal about cheering on the little guy.
quite
and
graphic.
funny, graphic, but it gets the message across in a way that they engage with. And that's why it's so special what we're doing, because it is outside the box, but Jesus is still front and center. Yeah. And we make a massive point of that, is yes, we're here and we're having some fun with wrestling. We're not trying to tar the church of anything negative. It's literally like, we want you to come in because you're not coming in. And we want you to hear about Jesus because you're not hearing about Jesus. But let wrestling be the hook that gets you in.
Excellent. And you also go to schools.
Yeah.
Which is, again, that's an amazing opportunity, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the schools work for me as a dad and as a guy who grew up without a dad. I think fatherlessness is a massive issue in our country, and I believe that there are many young men and women young boys and girls, who are looking for role models. Yeah. And let's be honest, there's a bunch of role models that aren't very good that they're following. And if it's not celebrities or people who have some pretty risky life choices, it might be the gangs on the streets. It might be the unhelpful character round their family or whoever it is. I would rather them go, hey, there's a wrestler who's coming to church. Well, that's interesting and exciting. Yeah. Oh, he's a Christian. Oh, he's been through this in his life. He's talking from experience.
By the way, there are a lot of Christians out there in these contact sports.
Oh,
boxing, wrestling. Often, you suddenly got some sports reporter, who's stuck holding a microphone in the face of someone who's sharing their testimony.
Yeah,
and I mean, or someone.
Isn't there some power in that?
Wonderful.
I think
they've got nowhere to go because they're there to interview the hero of the show. And I think you were talking about the chap who's knocked out.
Who's just knocked out.
Tyson.
Tyson
didn't knock him out, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. But I mean, again, the power in that is they're relatable characters.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a big fan of Billy Graham, but would he relate to kids now?
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
He did to my mum.
Yeah.
He's 90 next year.
Yeah.
And that's how I'm here, because he did the business. But today, it's another world.
It is another world. And with social media and things moving as fast as they are, and the access that people have to people and celebrities, TikTok, all that kind of stuff, it's just too often that they can come across something that's not godly.
That's right.
And I would rather them go, hey, look, I'm going to follow Gaz, and he's going to keep pointing me to Jesus, rather than follow the criminal in my street who's going to keep pointing me towards a death sentence.
I would have thought you could do quite a lot of TikTok memes and things from your, can't you?
Yeah, we're going to get creative with it.
Okay.
We do have a lot of ideas that we're looking to kind of do. We only became a charity in December, so we're in year one, which is fantastic. I mean, financially, there's a lot of funders in year one, so we're kind of dealing with that and trying to navigate that. But we do feel a sense that getting into schools is a massive arm for us.
And how do you do it? Because you've obviously, you can't wrestle on your own, so you need to have a bunch of you there, and then you've got to move a ring. I would have thought
sometimes we use a ring, sometimes we don't. So again, it depends on the setup.
Because you can't slam someone flat on the school stage.
No, but we can take a crash mat.
Okay.
And we can use a crash mat. So we have a crash mat that we can take with us. Sometimes schools have them all in their gyms anyway.
That's true.
So we're like, oh, what have you got? Just bring it out and we'll do that. So we did one in Guildford a couple of weeks ago, which is really interesting. It was a secondary school. And as I was sharing my story and got to the point where I said I was sleeping in a skip at 15, the teacher, who was kind of one of the chaplains there, he stopped them all and said, who here is 15? And all these kids put their hands up.
Excellent.
About 140 kids. And then they said, you're not going home tonight, you're sleeping in a skip. And the room was silent.
Yeah, excellent.
And I was like, wow. And I'd not felt that before, because it's the first time I've done it. No, it was like saying, well, how would you feel if you were going home to sleep in a skip? And it made them all think. And then I was then saying, I've got no GCSEs or qualifications. I didn't finish school. You're all in exam season right now. I couldn't take my exams because I was having to break open cold tins of beans to feed myself on the streets. But now here I am, grown up, having worked in the charity sector for many years, now CEO of my own charity, doing all this crazy, amazing stuff. I've got the childhood dream of being a pro wrestler. I've got a wife and two beautiful little girls. My life looks like really good on the outside, but actually, when I was your age, I was sleeping in a skip. Yeah. And what was the difference? What changed it? Jesus. And there's the power. Because they can't deny that. When they ask me, whether it's a secular school or a Christian school, what made the difference in your life? And I'm able to say Jesus. Because that's true.
No one can take that away.
They can't take that away.
Funnily enough, they can't take away your story of you shared with me being beaten up and all the rest of it. Yeah. That is quite a story.
Yeah.
And being bullied. Hard to believe now.
I know. You know, I had, I'd say one of the pivotal parts of my story is I was able to forgive my abuser to his face when I was a grown man, and that was a really powerful moment in my story. I'd prayed the night before with a friend of mine who was discipling me at the time about forgiving him, because I'd met with my mum, I'd found my dad, I'd tried to resolve things with my ex-wife, and I was on this journey of forgiveness, and we got stuck because he was in prison. I didn't know anything. No. And we just prayed about it. And I said a very bold prayer. I said, God, if you're real and can help me fix this, then I'm in. You've got me. And then he walked into my place of work the next day. No. And I had to serve him.
Wow.
And I'd been wrestling training, and I'm a grown man. I'm not a little boy anymore. And I'm stood closer than we are now across the counter. Took his DVDs off him, and as I gave him his change back, and I held his hand, I saw just as much fear in him as there was in me. Yeah. But there was also a moment there where I could have gone up on the shoulders.
Yeah, and taken him down.
Totally could have done. But that wasn't the point. The Holy Spirit was there, and I felt it, and I sensed it, and it was a moment. And I said to him, I forgive you for what you did.
That's powerful.
Really powerful. And as I let go and he kind of went off, I had a moment. I washed my face. I called Dave, my guy. I was like, you won't believe what just happened. And that was it for me. And I was like, there are people out there who need to hear that story, because they have people that they can't forgive.
That's it.
They've got stuff in their past, in their childhood, even as adults, this sense of victimhood, this sense of being abused or being let down by the system, and justice and hurt and pain and bitterness, that they need to see someone else could do it, for them to be able to believe that they can do it for themselves. And actually
get a pathway out of it, because often, you know, the whole industry around rehabilitating people like that doesn't lead them to a solution. And that's the problem.
No, there's no mercy there either. No. And I think as Christians, we need to be very careful about who we say is worthy of God's love.
That's right.
Because we're all worthy of God's love.
Well, I'm not.
Well, okay. No, sorry.
I'm joking.
You know what I mean? Maybe worthy is not the right thing.
No, I've got it.
God loves us all.
I told you I was going to throw some.
You were some curveballs. No, God loves us all, and who are we to say who's worthy of that? We
exactly. Judge not.
Exactly.
Yeah. The measure you judge, you'll be judged. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Totally agree. Can we see, because you've won a world championship, and I just want to see this amazing belt. It's not the Lonsdale belt. Just tell us a little bit about that.
So this is our World Heavyweight Championship. Yeah. This is like the best of the best fight for this. Yeah. In regards to the men. Yeah. We have a women's division as well, and we have a women's world title.
Fantastic.
Similar design with a white strap. It looks very nice actually. But yeah, this is what we compete for, and I think with Wrestling Church, we still like to lean into this idea that there are winners and losers.
That's true.
And I think one of the most powerful stories we did recently was, we called it 2 out of 3 falls. So if you remember back in the World of Sport days, it was whoever got to 2 victories first.
That's it.
Well, the preach we did in the back of that was, we're still in the fight, because the first fall was the fall. The second fall was Jesus' resurrection. Yeah. The third fall is yet to come.
Very good.
And whose side are you on?
Yeah.
Are you on Jesus, or are you on the enemy?
That's it.
We know who's going to win, because like wrestling, it's scripted. We've seen the end.
That's true.
We know who's winning.
Yeah, that's really good, because obviously you would expect me to say this, but in Ephesians 6, you know, we're wrestling not against flesh and blood. Yeah. But it's a spiritual wrestling match. Now, I read as a little kid, it was a book, don't want to hog your time, but by an old Puritan writer called The Christian in Complete Armour, William Gurnall. But anyway, I never forget, one thing he wrote was that a wrestling match is not like a battle where you can take a break and come back. I know you got tag wrestling, but you're literally, he said, it's constant all the time. Either you throw the devil down or the devil throws you down. I never forgot that. It's physical, it's personal, it's contact. That's like the spiritual battle, isn't it?
Amen. Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was good. I'm pleased you enjoyed my little preach.
I like that. No, that's good. And I think, again...
There's no easy road through. You've got to be constantly alert.
Yeah.
Wrestling.
Yeah, because he's always creeping and prowling.
Yeah.
And he could grab you at any point.
Yes.
And if you're not match fit,
yeah,
and if you're not training, and when we say training, you're not reading your Bible, you're not praying, you're not getting counsel of saints, you're not keeping yourself topped up with the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
When he comes around, he's coming at you full strength.
Yeah.
If you're not at full strength, you're going to struggle.
Yeah.
So you need to be match fit and you need to be ready to go at any point, and that's discipleship, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Now we don't want to give this a shelf life, so we won't set any dates of events you've got coming up. But every Saturday, generally speaking, you have your wrestling church, or every once a month.
Yeah.
Is it the first Saturday?
It's normally the fourth Saturday of every month.
Fourth Saturday of the month, and then and that's in Shipley.
That's in Shipley, yeah. St. Peter's Church in Shipley.
Brilliant.
But you can find all this on our website, and we do tour, so churches book us. And we come to churches and we do events where we have a couple of fights, and I'll do my testimony and a gospel appeal. And they'll get the church leaders involved. We've had a bishop slap a wrestler.
Really?
Just because we're going to come and go.
Yeah.
So we want the church to be kind of highlighted a little, and we want the people who come in your area to your church to know that you're a part of this too, and not just Gaz and his crew. Yeah. You know, we try and give the rub, we call it, the shine, to the local church as well. So we tour, we do conferences, we're launching a podcast this year. We've got a training school, we do women's self-defense classes, kids and youth.
Yeah, tell me about that, because I've got a fairly young daughter and she lives in London. You think it's pretty dangerous out there on the streets. Just tell me how can you sort of train or help someone in self-defense, because it's dangerous anyway. I know if there's a fire, it says get out of the building, but if someone's actually whatever trying to abduct you, what do you do?
Well, we teach what's called a hit and run technique. Because you can't ever expect a woman to overpower a man. There are just physiological differences that is just, they're going to struggle. So we teach them something as simple as, if you're grabbed around the waist, to throw a back headbutt. Yeah. If you catch the guy on the nose or the eyes, you're going to disorient them. Yeah. To scratch. I think this is a really important one. We had a police officer say that this is really important. If they're grabbed around the waist, to scratch, because they'll get DNA under their fingernails. They'll also mark the guy. Yeah. So if the police are looking for them, they can find them and they can say, well, where did you get that from? Very good. Stamping on toes. If they want to hit in the groin region, go for it. Back elbows to the liver, stuff like that. And then it's drilling it. So it's not just doing it once, coming to a class and going away. Doing it over and over and over again. So like in wrestling, your muscle memory kicks in. Yeah. Because you need to be able to hit that strike first time, 20th time, precision, perfect, and you only get that through drilling it and practicing it. Yeah. So we have that. We teach a load of stuff around when you get grabbed by your hair. We teach stuff around like general women's safety, so having like an app that has a button on it, rape alarms, that kind of stuff. The local police are involved as well. So that for me is really important, because...
That's really important, because it's a dangerous world out there.
It is, and I think if we had women who are as strong, you know, in the face of battle in like a physical sense, as, let me tell you, I know so many women who are strong in the spiritual sense. Yeah, exactly. You know, I'm always surprised by prayer teams at churches, and they're all women, and I'm like, why are we sending the women to war? Where are the men? Yeah. But, you know, I'm like, here we have women who can go out on the streets and confidently defend themselves. That will send a message to men out there that they can't just do that.
Because you come from an area, dare I say, where there is quite a lot of that, and there's the grooming gangs and all of that. Yeah,
around Bradford, definitely. You know, we're just outside of Bradford, and there are grooming gangs. There are, you know, crime is on the rise. Really? And again, like, I want there to be young women who can see that men are standing up for them, and they're not the enemy. You know, that we're here to help, and that we're here, that, you know, some of us are here to stand up for women and violence towards women.
I'll tell you a little story, because about 30 years ago, when I met my wife, I went through a handbag, as you do. Yeah. And she had a CS gas, you know, spray thing in there. And I said, cool, that's, I don't think that's legal. I said, you haven't used it, have you? She said, of course. And that's the sad thing, is that they have to walk around with that. Yeah. I would rather them not have to walk around with that. My wife, you know, she was in an abusive relationship before she met me, and she used to put her keys between her fingers when she was walking home, just in case she had to throw a punch. Wow. And she'd tell me all these stories, and her friends do. You know, I'm a dad at the school gates with the kids, and all the mums are there. Yeah. And as soon as I said we're doing women's self-defense, like, I want to come. Yeah.
Because they want to feel safe, which is a sad thing that they need to feel that way. I would rather that not be the case.
Absolutely. Well, we've done sort of aerobics and other things on Rev TV, but we've never done a sort of, whatever you call it, self-defense course.
Yeah.
I actually think there'd be quite a lot of people who will watch that.
Yeah, yeah.
But the general message is not, try and take some. But the thing is, you can't witness to someone who's trying to abduct you, put it that way.
No, and I think for me, evangelism has always been a key part of who I am. As soon as Jesus turned my life around, I wanted everyone else to know the same. And a lot of that for me is relational. It's being in people's lives and doing the good stuff and the bad stuff with them. So they see you when you're struggling, and they see you when you're winning, and Jesus shines through. Wonderful. So for me to be able to do that in a situation where I've got a training school full of people, men, women, young, old, who are all there to learn about wrestling or self-defense or whatever that might be, and their invitation is there to maybe come and watch The Chosen and talk about it after, or to do the live series from Hope Together, whatever that might look like, and that relationship is there, or come to Wrestling Church and hear a story, that to me is where Jesus comes through. So if I put on a women's self-defense class, I've now got a captive audience of women who can hear about Jesus. If I do a kids and youth class, go to a school, there's a captive audience of kids who can hear about Jesus, because that's all I want to do, is I just want to go, yes, I'm a wrestler and it's fun, but it's Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. That's what's got to come through.
It's so powerful. It's a really unique ministry. I've never heard of it, but boy, I can see how that can reach young people who have got no idea about the Bible. They're not taught it in school anymore, many schools. No. Maybe the parents never were, So it's a real opportunity to break through. We're in the last minute, so this is your time just to give your final message. Just you probably said it half a dozen times, so go on.
So Kingdom Wrestling, we are here to wrestle back for the kingdom of God. We're here to bring God's kingdom through wrestling, and we want people to join us. We want people to share about us. We want people to find us. If you're around the Shipley Bradford area, come to our training school. If you want to do one where you are, get in touch with us. We're launching one in Castleford next year. We're talking with the church in London. We'd love to do more of these and train you up, or get a wrestler local in to do this and have you share Jesus. Book us for a church. We can come and do an event, get your local community, and we get hundreds coming to these events to hear about Jesus, obviously to watch some wrestling. But get in touch, find us, go to kingdomwrestling.org, get on our website. If you want to support us, you can pray for us, you can get on our mailing list, you can donate, all that good stuff.
Fantastic.
Come and find us.
Really enjoyed it. Thanks so much, Gaz.
Bless you, mate.
Bless you. Look forward to seeing you the next time we go face to face.